Listen, we're in the Champions League. We're in the Champions League. Finishing top 3. We're in the Champions League. Where's Liverpool? Not there. Where's Chelsea? Not there. Where's Spurs? Not there. Oh my God! You're not going blood because you did not.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Manchester United, or excuse me, Galatasaray 3, Manchester United 3. Yeah, again, I mean, it says it in the title, United hopes hang by a thread. Another lead surrendered. And what more needs to be said, realistically? I think you look at Andre Onana in this Champions League spell, this Champions League campaign, rather, that we've had. And we praised him recently. I praised him recently. And I said, you know what, for his mistakes that he made earlier on the season, he was improving. And in the Premier League, he has improved. But I think if you're going to look at, you know, our Champions League campaign, if you're going to do analysis of this Champions League campaign, you're going to look at him and say, mate, near enough every game, there's been errors surrounding you, whether it's the first game against Bayern Munich, whether it's Galatasaray at home, whether it's Galatasaray away. Granted, you made a save in the Copenhagen game at home, but that's the only game we've won. So in the only game that you really haven't made a mistake, it's the only game that we've managed to win. Yet again, in the Champions League again today, we've blown a multi-goal lead, a multi-goal lead. And the one in Copenhagen, even though I wasn't thrilled about it, I could almost understand it a little bit, because I said to myself, wow, you go down to 10 men, away from home, Champions League, this can happen, sort of thing. But today, we conceded the 2 goals just because, again, mentality. We weren't strong enough. And then after that, you know, we did have chances as well come to the close of the second half. But, you know, for the amount of goals we've scored, we've conceded the most in the Champions League as well. I just saw some stats. I mean, if you want to know if we're actually officially out, not yet, obviously, officially, United have to beat Bayern Munich at Old Trafford to have any chance of qualifying. We're also reliant upon the Copenhagen result that happens with Bayern Munich later on this evening. We're the 3rd highest scorers in the Champions League this season, but we also sit bottom of our group right now. And actually, if you want to look at some more records, this comes from Opta. The most goals conceded by an English team 5 games into a Champions League campaign is us, with 14 this year. The previous team that held the record was once again Manchester United in 94 to 95, but that was only 11. We've got that beat by 3 goals, which says that there's a problem. There's a reoccurring theme, and it's difficult to kind of separate, because at the moment it's not totally sort of related to the Premier League. Our Premier League performances are way different than our Champions League performances at the moment. And I'm not sure particularly why. Is that just because of the level? Is that just because of the level of opposition? Is that just because of, I don't know, because of the players and the mentality of the players we got? I don't know. But yeah, the Champions League hopes are certainly near enough gone. But this is the full-time view. You can call in. You can have your say. If indeed you are a member, you can go to the community tab of the United View YouTube page. And if you're a member, you'll be able to see the post. If you do wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. Be sure to get your chats in, your takes in, your super chats in as well. We can get your comments up on the screen as well. Starting off with MJ says, at what point is Erik ten Hag to blame? Woeful signings. Well, the Andre Onana signing, once again, is going to get more controversy and become even more polarizing. Like I said, recently, he'd played better. Again, this is what's so strange about all of this, is in the league, in the Premier League, what was that, 3 clean sheets in a row or something like that? In contrast, you've got Champions League games where we're conceding at least 2+ goals in every single match, near enough. It's baffling, absolutely baffling. But let's get to the calls. Let's start off with Show Ramen Show. Where do you begin with all of that?
I mean, again, it's crazy, isn't it? Another Champions League game where we've scored 3 goals and somehow lost. It's the 3rd game. I mean, it's just nuts.
True.
I mean,
feels like a loss.
Oh, so yeah. I actually genuinely, I'm not even genuinely thought we lost the game, but I mean, it's. I mean, this is the thing with Onana. I think, like you said, he's played well recently, but I just think tonight showed that no matter how well he's been playing in previous games, he's just got those mistakes in him. I just don't see him being a successful sign. I think tonight, I mean, maybe people might say in the comments, I'm giving up on a player too early, but I just think the sheer amount of mistakes he's made in the Champions League, and it's just like some like bad ones, like bad ones, like. And even the third goal, I heard the people on the UV stream, they were kind of letting him off the hook for the third one. For me, even the third one's his fault. From that angle near post, I don't think that should be going in.
It's a bit of both, isn't it? I think on the TNT coverage, they were saying, you know, what a strike because it's got a lot of pace behind it. I'm kind of a bit with you. I just think always as a keeper, if you're beaten on the near post, you're always looking towards yourself. I look at all 3 goals, to be honest, this evening, and you're right, and go preventable. But the first 2, obviously, in particular, but even that last one, I agree.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really know what to say. It's just, I mean, it was kind of a basketball game, to be fair. But I mean, we made it that way because after 3-1, you think 2-0, you let it get back to 2-1. I was kind of worried it was going to be 2-2 before half time, but I think we gained our composure again a little bit. And then you're going to go 3-1, and then you think, just come on, like, you know, I mean, again, it's another 2-goal lead twice that we've given up in the same game. I think we did the same last season. I think earlier in the season against someone else. I can't remember now, but yeah, I mean, I think the bigger picture is that a lot of these summer signings this summer, I think Ten Hag's going to come under big scrutiny because I think 3 of them straight away. I mean, I think Amrabat had a slightly better game today. But I think overall that signing hasn't looked that good. We know the Mason Mount signing all season we've been saying, why on earth did we sign this player? And he keeps getting injured as well, which doesn't help. And now the Onana one as well, and they're the 3 signings that he really campaigned for. You know, the Højlund one is the only one that's pretty like a club signing. Højlund was a club signing. Reguilon was an emergency left back. Those 3 players, they're his guys. And the fact that, you know, especially Onana, the fact that, you know, I think always the goalkeeper always brings the most scrutiny, especially at Man United. And you're replacing a goalkeeper that had been there for 12 years. And I just think Onana's not going to get the same slack that De Gea first did when he came in because De Gea was a teenager. Well, just turned 20. Onana's 27, international keeper. And I honestly don't think it's going to work out with him. I just think these kind of mistakes is the mistakes he's always going to make. And the thing is, he's not compromising it with his distribution being that amazing. I thought it was better today, but I think since he's come to the club, I don't think we can say, wow, Onana's distribution, like game to game, has been sensational. You know, he creates so many more chances for us. Our play is so much better with him. We haven't been able to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
and even when he did in the second half or was it first half? I forget when it was, when he got the ball on the halfway line and the player was near him. We were almost shocked because we haven't actually seen him do that often. We went, oh, wow, I haven't seen him do that much. And then he did the long pass and we were like, oh, it's brilliant. But it's ironic, isn't it, that we signed a goalkeeper and the thing that people were focusing on the most was his distribution in a Champions League final. And then just mere months later, if you're going to put the blame at a player as opposed to, you know, the manager and all that kind of stuff, if you were going to look at a player in this whole Champions League campaign and say who hasn't delivered, it would be the player that we bought that played in the Champions League final last season, which...
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, away from Onana, I think there's other things we've got to point out. I mean, I think both free kicks given away by Bruno, I thought both were idiotic fouls from him. I mean, again, because both free kicks should have been saved by Onana, I guess people will say, well, Onana should have saved the free kicks anyway. I get that point. But I just think the fouls given away by Bruno, again... It's very naive, and I just think some of the chances we gave up when we had the 2-0 and 3-1 lead, our midfield just getting run through so easily. Something we saw in the first half at Goodison as well, except that we got punished today. We got punished today. Yeah, I mean, 2 of them were set pieces, so it's kind of, they only scored 1 goal from open play. It's kind of hard to kind of blame the midfield and defense too much, but I did feel like we gave up a lot of space in that midfield and defensive area once we went 3-1 up, and we just... This is the thing with us. It's like even when this is a scary thing. We could be 2 goals in front and we're not confident. That's the mad thing. And we can't control a game. And it's even more worrying because the teams we've got coming up are teams that if we play like this against, I mean, if we're conceding 3 in a game where we didn't even look at conceding 1, then against like some Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool coming up, God only knows how many goals we're going to concede. But I mean, I don't know what the mathematics are behind Champions League qualification. I think it's not in our hands anymore.
No, I
But
think it's basically we have to beat Bayern, and also it depends on the result later on. I mean, and I
yeah,
think you bring up a good point with the Everton game as well, because this was something I was also thinking during the game. I was thinking that actually, like that could have happened at the weekend, because it just feels like there's still that feeling, despite us looking a bit more fluid with the way we counterattack and being more clinical with the chances that we're creating, which is great. There is still this like vulnerability about us, whereby every time the opposition comes forward, you have this feeling like I think they might score, and it's not even necessarily because of the goalkeeper. It's just because it's like they're just got so many chances. Like even today after we scored and scored again, immediately you're thinking, well, when are they going to score? Because every time they came forward, we get run through so easily. And again, I don't know if that's a midfield thing. I don't know if that's a system thing.
it's a
But we're
midfield
still
thing.
very vulnerable.
For me, it's definitely a midfield thing. I just think that the midfield. I've said it all season. We've seen it that the midfield gets chopped and changed every game. He's not been able to find the midfield balance, and it was the same last season. We had the same issue last season. We couldn't really fix it, but it's become worse this season. That's the scarier thing. I don't know if Casemiro coming back alongside maybe Kobe would maybe help a little bit, but I think chopping and changing the midfield every game doesn't help. But it's definitely the midfield, because you see the opposition teams, not even good ones, 2-3 passes. You saw it, guys start to die. For some reason, 2-3 passes down the side. I'm like, where the bloody hell is Luke Shaw? It's just mad. 2-3 passes down the side, and it was. I think bigger picture. I think there's bigger problems which we now which we know anyway. But I think kind of tonight's game kind of illustrates our season so far. It's quite kind of sums up our season, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate your show, Raman. Appreciate you calling in. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. A couple of super chats here. There's plenty of calls to get to. I'll try and get as many as I can. DN Vlog says Ten Hag managed a win, but players made us lose. Dixon CK says, I think Onana has cost us 3 games in the Champions League. I'd rather we miss out on Europa from now on. There's no point in continuing in that competition. And Game Fanatic says, I'll say it again, Owen. Attackers should not have been allowed in the wall for the first goal. Blocked his view leading to the goal was inexcusable. I don't know. I think that first goal is sort of a combination of several errors, to be honest with you. My first reaction was that's just really soft. The show says the foul that Bruno gives away, the wall, which I thought was just shocking. I mean, I know they go, it's tactical because the Galatasaray players do the thing and then they leave the gap, but you can still counteract that. You can still counterbalance that, to be honest with you. And they didn't. And also, obviously, Onana just gambles. He just gambles I don't understand why. I don't know if you can't see the ball or something. It's just poor. It's just, again, it was just a soft goal overall. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Amanor. Amanor, thoughts on what we saw this evening?
I don't know. Sorry, I'll start again. Really.
I don't know either, to be honest with you.
No, I just this is not good. No, I'll start again. What I'm trying to say is that we played well as a team. I'm going to try and take some positive first. As the outfield team, especially Anthony, who I was looking at, McTominay, Bruno, they played well in that atmosphere. They played really well. Maguire was doing passing. He was intercept. He's electric at one point. He's like running, and so you're thinking, okay, the outfield players are doing their jobs. Yes, Bruno was a bit petulant giving away those 2 fouls, but I've got to look at those goals, especially the first one. And the first one where he had the free kick. You're a goalkeeper, Lowen. I think you said you played goalkeeper.
Yeah.
When you set up, I've never been a goalkeeper, but I'm assuming when you set up the wall to defend a free kick, you assume the wall's going to do its job. So you got to have faith in the wall, and then stand in the area where it's exposed. So as long as you stay there, as long as the wall does its job, and you stay in the area where it's exposed, if that ball comes through the exposed area, you'd catch it or block it. I have no idea why it gambles to the left and does that. I don't know. Can you explain that to me? Can you explain why people would do that?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's because he can't see the ball. I don't know if because the players splitting the wall, it's like distracted him. Like sometimes if a player spins like that, you follow the player as opposed to following the ball. I don't know. Like I said, I thought that first goal, just combination of every error you could probably think about. The foul, the wall, the goalkeeper. It was everything.
Yeah, but that's how I'm going. But bear with me. So if the ball went over the wall and went top corner on his left hand, he's diving towards, then you can't blame him on Onana. It was a good goal because the free kick person went over the wall and did that, but it just went through the wall So that's on Onana. First of all, I know it's a combination error, but primarily the errors on Onana. If he just didn't move his feet and trusted his wall, he'd have been saving that. The second goal, I can't. I'm getting PTSD on it. I don't know what he was doing. It bounced in front of him, but what was he doing with his hand? What is that? I don't understand that.
No,
I
I
don't see what the
thought
keeper did.
initially when it happened in real time, I thought he'd saved it because he got his hand to it, and then it kind of just, it's one of those ones when then it just bounces in the net, and you go, well, what happened? Like, what happened? It's just shocking. I don't get the technique at all.
Yeah, and the third goal, yes, worldy, and maybe he should have been on his near post, and maybe he could have saved that. But for two of the goals, I squarely put that on Onana, and he's cost us the Champions, not just because of this game, the Bayern Munich game as well. He cost us as well, and the Galatasaray game as well, where he got Casemiro sent off. So this one individual has effectively cost us the Champions League. So I know in the studio they were talking about, are we done with Onana? I think for me, he's 27 years old, and I think Flex said it very well. If he was a young keeper who had potential, then you could say you can sort of iron that out through training. But he's 27. I think this is him. He's going to do his distribution, even though the distribution is not going to be great. Not going to be great. He's going to have these mistakes. I think he's got more mechanical mistakes than De Gea has. So I'm worried now. If we want to progress to latter stages in the competitions or title for the challenge, isn't Onana our guy? And there's no shame to say he isn't our guy. I remember, what's his name? Pep Guardiola. He got Claudio Bravo in within a season. He realized, what, I can't. He's not for me. I'll get somebody else. There's no shame in doing that. Obviously, there will be financial repercussions and scrutiny on Ten Hag for that. But we've got to make our mind up on him sooner or later. And based on the evidence I've seen so far, I don't know. I'm not convinced. Owen. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, maybe too reactionary. But I just felt that team today, especially the outfield players, they didn't deserve to lose. And Galatasaray were open. I know Martial and Palestra could have scored. And Mina said Palestra should have scored one of those goals. But I regret that. But if Onana did his jobs, we would have won that game.
No, I agree. I think certainly the Champions League, you can have massive scrutiny. I think you're right in the sense that I think we've seen kind of what Andre Onana is, in the sense of he'll have what he's had recently in the Premier League, where you go like a couple of three or four clean sheets in a row. He's top with the Golden Gloves, doing well, but he's got games like today in his locker, and it's just a case of frequency. How often is that going to happen? Is that just because we're super, super open? But then you look at the goals that we conceded, they're set pieces. So it's not as if it was because of, we're conceding lots of chances. So I don't know. I think that the discussion, just as it felt like it was dying down, now it's, proper petrol on the fire. It's gone straight away back up again. So, I mean, you can let us know in the chat, guys, what you think about Andre Onana and if he's one for the future. Just very quickly, Amanor, as we head to the weekend, Newcastle, what's tonight made you feel like for that game?
I'm optimistic. I know it sounds bizarre.
Premier League?
Yeah, Premier League. And the fact that Newcastle played in the Champions League as well, they'll be exhausted. We're exhausted. I think we've got more in the tank to give. I'm not saying we're going to win, but it's not going to be. We're not going to get battered at Newcastle either. I think it'll be a close game as well. They've got injuries. We've got people to come back. Rashford will be back as well, but maybe Rashford not playing is probably a good thing. Kobe Mainoo might be playing. So I'm more optimistic than I was before this game after seeing today's performance. But for me, I just hope. I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to qualify into the next stage of Champions League. I do hope we play well against Bayern, and we just get knocked out of the European competition. Don't go for the Europa League, and just focus on embedding Ten Hag's football style. Recognize which players we want to keep, which players we want to go, and hopefully we get this director of football in. So that's all I'm hoping for, Owen.
Yeah, big up Abanov for calling in, as always, long-time member on the channel. A couple more super chats here. Here we go. Before Onana, we couldn't control a game. 2 goals up twice, and we couldn't take the sting out of the game. Absolutely pathetic. Slow the game down. Game Fanatic says, on the first goal, Schmeichel did the same in the 99 final. Referring to shuffling the feet and then going the other direction. I remember that, and he slapped their hands together. Let's go to another call. We've got so many to get to this evening. I'll do my best to get to everyone. Apologies if I can't. Let's go to Pav. Pav, where do you stand with everything that we've seen this evening? Where do you stand with Andre Onana?
Do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want a delusional tie opinion?
I want you to only be yourself, Pav. I will only accept.
I would,
yourself.
if I was going with Ty, I would have said it was the wet pitch, innit? But let's just go with the truth, innit? Onana's a scrub. Simple as. We at the beginning of the season, like it was questionable what you're doing, but then we thought you was getting to your form. You helped Inter get into a final, but you've taken us out of the UCL. And a lot of these goals that we've conceded in this tournament so far is because of your fault. The 2 free kicks, what the hell you doing? Even that 3rd goal near post, bro. Come on. You're a seasoned probe. Like, what the hell am I watching? And I was buzzing after we went 2-0 up. I was like, oh my God. And then deja vu kicked in. I was like, 2-0 up. We concede again. And then, when it went to like, when they scored 2 goals, I was just like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna win tonight. And then, like, obviously we scored the 3rd, and even then I was like panicking, and I was just like, I still think they're gonna go score. I actually thought they might have gone on to win. We were lucky we didn't concede any more goals. And Amanor was saying we play well. Mate, we don't play well when we're getting peppered non-stop every game we play. We got peppered by Everton. We're getting peppered, like, we're conceding so many chances to other clubs. Like, that midfield seems so empty. Like, our attack rarely defend from the front, other than maybe like Garnacho runs back a little bit. And then why did we take off Højlund again? He's done it again. There's no need for you to take him off. He's come back from injury. If he's fit enough to play, just keep him on for the night, for the full 90 minutes. Play Martial against Newcastle. Keep your best players on the pitch. This was like do or die again tonight. And you've taken off our main striker when we needed to score goals again. And you've brought on Martial again. But yeah, we're at the UCL, man. Like, anyone who's sitting there with hope thinking that Bayern are going to beat, obviously they'll probably beat Copenhagen tonight, but Copenhagen and Galatasaray have to draw in the last game, and we have to beat Munich. There's no chance in hell that we're beating Munich at Old Trafford. I don't care. Like, you really think that Tom Tuchel is going to sit there, sub off a load of players just so that we have a chance? You lot are crackheads. If you're thinking that, no chance.
And I think one of them will, either Galatasaray or Copenhagen, one of them will get a win. I don't see them playing out.
Yeah, they'll go. They'll throw everything like at it.
Yeah,
because even though that they like only one of them are going to get into, the other team's going to get Europa League football anyway. So they're just going to go at it.
What do you think? You mentioned with the going 2-0 up and all that kind of stuff. What do you think the players must think when it comes to that? Because again, a bit like with Everton at the weekend, we scored and we were under the cosh, but then once we scored the penalty and once we scored the other one, like Everton then kind of slowed down. They stopped because they realized, oh, we've lost the game, blah, blah, blah. And when we were 2-0 up, you kind of did sort of sense it from Galatasaray, like they slowed down a little bit. Even the goal they score, it's from an avoidable sort of free kick and all that kind of stuff. Like, what do you think the players must think of, like Onana thinking that actually, like, we're trying
do you know what? I'll tell you now, yeah. There's not a single leader on that pitch. That's our problem. There's not a leader there. When you're 2-0 up, you need to stay calm and composed. We don't do that. Like, look at the leaders that we've had in this club before. We rarely ever did that back in the day. But with like what we're seeing on the pitch now, no leaders at all. There's obviously Varane on the bench. Casemiro's not playing. But who could you say on that pitch do you feel like who has leadership qualities? I don't think any of them do. They're all just doing their own thing. Like Pelestri come on thinking that he was going to be the hero. Like, what are you doing, kid? You're a rat. I said it before. Like, with these wingers at our club, it's just a different shade of crap. Like, a lot of these players are just like up themselves too much rather than focus on what needs to be done to see out the game. But it's leadership, man. There's no leadership on that pitch. And even with Ten Hag's in-game management, it's poor. And we saw that. We've seen that many times now. Like, what was you doing to, like, stop us from conceding more goals? Like, we bought a Manu and he did all right. But that midfield's so exposed. And people sitting there hyping up our defence, hyping up Maguire and Lindelof and stuff. Like, we just get peppered non-stop. And like you just said to Amanor about Newcastle as well. Everyone's got to take the blame. Everyone's got to take the blame. If it's a team game, like I'm not going to sit here and just like criticize Onana. Like, what are we doing to like even the third goal we conceded? We should have defended better. Like, there were so many chances that they had in that game. Like Zaha could have scored, Cardi could have scored, but I don't know what it is. We're just like people aren't afraid of us. We're not. People aren't afraid of us. That's the problem.
We can't ignore the chances that we also had in the second half as well, though. You had Bruno hit the post. Palestri should have scored.
Yeah, we had chances.
McTominay took a shot and he dragged it wide, and he actually should have played one of the wingers in. It would have been a better opportunity. So at the same time that Galatasaray, particularly in the second half, had a lot of opportunities, we can't ignore that we did as well. I think that part of the madness of that game is that it turned into an absolute free-for-all, but I would then also say that we allowed that to happen based upon errors, really primarily from the goalkeeper, that put pressure on ourselves and flipped the game. The
problem is every game that we play at the minute is like that. It's like a free for all. That's what I mean. There's no leadership. There's no I don't get what the tactics are in this game, because what I'm seeing him do is what I saw Ajax do against Tottenham in that semi-final. And they threw it away then, and he's doing, and I feel like he's doing it now. I don't want to hear things about we don't have this player, that player. You've spent a lot of money, and I'd say about 80% of your signings have been embarrassing. Like, what I'm seeing from some of the signings that he's done, they're either injured or he doesn't trust them enough. And when they do come in, they'll have a couple bad games. They're on the bench. Like, I don't get like the whole process. It's just turned out to be poor. Like the entire like rebuild is just poor. And I've said it before, we need to tear it all up at the end of the season. Like, whoever they bring in, a CEO, director of football, you need to take a hard look at this guy to see if Ten Hag should be carrying on as a Man United manager. And I wouldn't give this guy a penny in January as well. The amount of money that's being wasted at this club again, I wouldn't give him any signings in January. You go fix your problem and stop like bringing in more players in to make a bigger problem than it already is. Nah, man, give him a loan signing, but I'm not giving him any more money.
I agree with the January thing to an extent, because I think that, again, you need to wait for the Ineos people to come in, look bigger picture long term. However, I think we also, when you're talking about rip it all down, I then also think we need to break the cycle of a setback, which this Champions League campaign is a massive setback, but it's not a season-defining setback because the season hasn't played out yet. We've still got to see what happens when it comes to how the season plays out.
Of course. I mean, if we qualify for the other thing is I want to point out, a lot of people keep saying that we could still finish fifth. Like, I read an article from The Athletic about 2 weeks ago saying that if Newcastle, Man United drop out, like, we might not get a fifth spot. The Premier League might not get a fifth spot for the UCL next season. So, fifth spot might not help us at all next season. So it's gonna. I don't know. I don't feel like we could break in the top four. The way that we're playing is free for all, and we haven't even beaten a top 6 team this season yet. We got Newcastle on the weekend. Amanor feels confident about it. I don't know why. We lost to their C team against one of our strongest teams in the Carabao Cup. So I don't know where your confidence is coming from. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going by game at the minute, man. Like, there's nothing really to be hopeful about at the minute with these players and this manager. But it is what it is.
Yeah, well, in this competition, certainly. Again, the Premier League, there are things to be, I guess, optimistic, maybe not positive, but optimistic about, I think, in fairness. And as I said, I think there has been a massive discrepancy between our Premier League form recently and our Champions League form. Massively. I mean,
yeah, like, we don't, like, we've conceded some goals against, like, the bigger teams, obviously, but, like, the tactics that he goes with, it doesn't work. Like, I don't trust it. There's probably maybe a handful of players that I trust at this club, and that's it. And when you don't trust your players to do a job for you, you know your club's a mess. That's the problem. Let me ask you, how many would you actually say that you trust out of this entire squad? It can't be more than maybe 5.
Well, I think he trusts who's playing well. I don't even know if it's specific to his own signings. I think at the moment there's an argument to be made he trusts Harry Maguire. He's playing in every game. He trusts, he trusts Bruno Fernandes, scored today. He trusts Alejandro Garnacho, scored at the weekend, scored today as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Garnacho and that aren't really a problem. I'm talking about the people who have been here for a long time. They've been here for a few seasons, and every year it's the same issues we might have one good
Then you look
season.
at
The
like
following season,
you
it's
look
back
at
to
Maguire and you
normal.
trust him at the moment. I think he is
No,
seeing
I
what
don't
we're all
trust that
seeing
guy.
at
I
the
don't
same
care
time.
how good he's played. I would never trust that
I
guy.
think he does. I think he does at the
Yeah,
moment. But that's
he
my point.
might,
I think he
but
does at the moment. And he didn't
yeah,
last season. He trusts Rafael Varane last season. Doesn't trust him at the moment. I think he
yeah.
just trusts who's playing
I
well.
saw their little handshake pictures online. I saw the club putting that out, try quash the rumours that are about. But I don't know. I feel like Varane's gonna go, no matter what. If it's not January, by the summer anyway. But like I said, tear the whole thing apart. Like even some of these players that we really like, they might have to go. It's about time. Like there's too many players that have been here too long who aren't going to propel us to title charge or getting further into the knockout stages in the UCL. They have to go. I don't care. I'm done. It's Man United. I'm not sitting there. I can't sit here and just watch these players let us down every other season. It's not good enough.
Well, I appreciate it, Pav. Appreciate calling in. Controversial Pav call this evening. People mixed in the chat. That's what it's all about. It's all about calling in, having your say, getting your opinions out there. A couple more super chats. Phil says, Giroud, Onana. DN Vlog says, players did do well, not to blame as such. And Zayn Miasi's here says, Havertz strikes top of the league and top of the group. Well, there you go. Zayn Miasi's happy again. So whatever. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Chalaboy Comics. Chalaboy Comics.
Hello, Owen.
You're
How
an
you doing?
optimistic guy. You're a positive guy. Can you give me any optimism and positivity coming out of this evening, or is it a tough one to take?
It's a very tough one to take, and I know the obvious criticism is Onana because that's what happens. We can get to that, later on the call. What I do want to highlight with this team is that when I first saw the team sheet, I was like, okay, why is Maino not playing? He did really well, but then after seeing the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, I was like, okay, I understand why Ten Hag is protecting Maino, because this is like a brutal head-to-head clash, man-to-man. And it almost reminded me of matches against Leeds United, where it was full on by both teams, which generally speaking plays into our hands because we're really good with transitions. And I think we did well in that aspect of the game. I feel like Ten Hag coached a very good first goal, second goal type of performance where we won the front foot, we struck first, we gave really huge blows against the opposition. But now it brings me to the main criticism of the team outside of the errors, and that is Man United in our next stage of our development has to decide what type of team we are when it comes to controlling the game. Are we going to go towards the approach of a Man City that is kill the team with possession, i.e. bore them, play in your back half, keep rotating the balls in the first 2/3 just to kill the tempo of the game? That's number one. Or are we going to go the Jose Mourinho approach where it's 2-0, we shut up shop, we play a really compact deep line, and we just hit them on the counterattack? Those are one of the two ways we have to decide. And I feel like the players that we played at the start of the game were transition teams. They were about breaking up play, about getting second balls, about having that sort of a game plan. So it meant that our game plan wasn't going to be a possession-based control game. We didn't have the players for that, which is interesting because when Martial and Maino came on, I thought, okay, this is our control substitutions to have the ball, hold the ball a little bit more. So I feel like we were stuck in between those two identities, sort of playing a basketball game without necessarily finding out how we want to control the game. And that has been a problem throughout this season. So I think in terms of our development, we have to figure out one or the other. How do we control games when we go ahead? Because going ahead hasn't been an issue. It's just keeping goals out. So I think that was an issue. And then another issue I want to say before we get to the Onana thing is game intelligence. And that is when you're on the front foot, say I think we were 2-0 up at this point before the free kick. Scott McTominay had the ball on the right wing, and Bruno had made a underlapping run. And that's sort of our rotation or our pattern of play that we've been working on all these past few weeks. We've had Bruno make this run, Delo make this run, McTominay himself make this run, Wan-Bissaka make this run. And the ball that is always played is down the line, on the ground onto Bruno for the cutback. McTominay decides to cross the ball, even though Bruno has made such a great run. Instead of keeping with the flow of the momentum, crosses the ball, which leads to the transition, that Bruno has to then chase and then give a foul away. Game intelligence, making the right play. And then fast forward when we're at 3-3 looking for a goal, Anthony gets the ball, who I think had a good game, passes the ball, a through ball to Maguire when we're chasing the game. Game intelligence. Scott McTominay had the ball, decides to shoot instead of playing, as you mentioned, the wingers in. Game intelligence. Palestri had Shaw making that similar run over with him, but decides to hold on to the ball instead of playing the ball for a cutback where we have bodies in the box. Game intelligence. So I think it's a maturity issue from the team, and I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but these are sort of the decisions we have to just make at critical points in the game. So that was my take. I don't think any criticism should be put on Ten Hag. I think it's pretty obvious what happened in this game, but outside of the Onana, I think our inability to control the game and decide how to go about it needs to improve fast.
I mean, when you talk about the ability to control the game, though, is that not hampered if your goalkeeper's making those kind of errors? Because, I mean, I felt that even when we were 2-0 up, we were controlling the game fairly well. And once again, if you get to half-time 2-0 up, the second half looks drastically different than how it did. And I don't know, there's something you can't compensate, because it happened once in the game and we recovered. So if anything, the problem is with United this season, it's been accused that something happens like that first Onana mistake and we don't recover. But this time we did. And the problem is it then happened again,
Right.
So what I suppose when we're a fragile side anyway, when that happens not once but twice in a game, it's almost a case of like, what do you expect, isn't it?
Right. No, and you're right. I'll get to the Onana point in just a little bit. But I would sort of disagree that even at 2-0 up, I don't think we were controlling the game. I think we were a dangerous threat. I think we looked like scoring every time we went forward, but it felt like sometimes we would just give the ball away, like kick it long. People weren't composed in possession, and that invited the pressure on us again and again. But to exactly your point, when a team scores a goal, we know when a team scores a goal, the mentality shift is palpable. So they feel they're in the game and they're going to bring more of themselves to us. So when you have Onana making, honestly, schoolboy errors, it honestly deflates the team. And we've talked about this. You'd asked, is Onana turning the corner? And I would be like, yes, but I'm still unconvinced with his technique. He keeps parrying the balls in. And I think that shows today that when it comes to long shots, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't have the right technique. When it's a flash shot, he can react. He can decide. But if there's a little bit of range, he just has really bad technique. And, I don't know what's going to happen with him in terms of whether he's going to start the next game. But I have a feeling there will be discussions between the leadership group and Ten Hag about Onana. And basically, I wouldn't be surprised if Ten Hag asks the Bruno, Maguire, I think Varane's in it, Casemiro, and just say, hey, guys, do you trust this guy? Should we keep going with him? Because honestly, I feel like he's consistently let down the team. Even though he's had some good moments, I just think those errors are unacceptable. I don't want to pile on him because obviously we know what happened. But this is just the reality of it. Is like at this level, you just can't be making those errors. And he was, I want to say, 80% of the reason why we did not win this game.
No, I agree. Big up Chalaboy Comics. Excellent call as always. Appreciate you calling in. I think I've got a couple more super chats here. Zamiasi says Saka strikes. Zamiasi just giving us an Arsenal update every couple of minutes, just to guide you if you want it. He's going to give us the updates. Mum's letting him use the credit card again. Arsenal are winning. Mumsy, can I have your card? I've got to go troll the internet. And big up Zabiasi, because it's not even just here as well with him. He's everywhere. If you tune into any United fan channel, it's like, I don't know, it's like chainmail with him. Do you remember like that thing when you used to just get like a weird email and like passes on to 10 other people? He goes around to like passes on to 10 other United fan channels. He does. It's incredible. I appreciate actually like the how dedicated he is to it. Well done. Zabiasi. Andreas says, why is every manager and up with an Ollie team, end up with an Ollie team? Anthony Tracy says, the good, but the bad, and the ugly from Bruno today. Indeed, it was a bit of a film from Bruno Fernandes, wasn't it? Let's go to another call. Let's go to All Elites. Haven't spoken in a while, my friend. What do you make of today?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Yes.
It's tough. it's tough because it's interesting because actually I thought we didn't play too badly. I might be in the minority about that, but actually hostile atmosphere. I was very, very nervous about this, but actually I didn't think they played too bad. Got some goals, looked really good. I was absolutely jumping out of my chair. I was so proud. It was just nice to see us getting some chances, scoring goals, and I think ultimately today it was just it was down to the goalkeeper and the mistakes. That for me, I mean, I know we weren't perfect, but I thought we played really well. I thought it was quite similar to the game, at Everton. Like it was just, it was just nice to see us sort of play a bit more composure to get some positivity going. But yeah, it's the Onana thing, and I remember coming to you, I think, in the second game and doing a call and saying I very rarely make a judgment about a player so quickly, but there was something about his performances just 2 games in that was making me a little bit unsure. When you're making saves with your wrist. And it should be your palm, and you're palming saves into the players, and you're causing issues. Something's very, very wrong with your technique. I noticed that from the beginning. And today, when you make mistakes like that, I mean, he's made far too many this season. And for me, it's a case of we've just got to be ruthless aggression. You know that. Just go to the summer and just get rid. Why faff around? It's not to say it's not weak. I think it's just saying, look, we made a judgment call, we made a wrong call. Nice distribution. That's that pirouette on the halfway line, and it's definitely had me coming out of my seat. But when you make mistakes and the amount that he makes, you can't. Where can you go going forward? You can't.
Yeah. And it's not just one game, is it? It's a competition. It's literally this competition this season. It's the Bayern Munich game, which again, we started well, makes a mistake, puts us on the back foot. It's Galatasaray at home, which at the time, were we ahead? At the time, I think we were ahead at the time. Concedes the penalty, they equalised, and they score the goal. And the goal that they scored, the winning goal, they chipped him. Not the first time he's been chipped this season. And also then you get into, obviously, today's game as well, where we're comfortable. I know, like you could say, maybe not totally comfortable because they're still coming at us, but we're 2-0 up. And it's another error. I mean, the last call kind of pointed this out, saying that, what the sort of leadership team might think or anything like that. But what do you think the defenders maybe think of him? Do they have that sort of nervousness, do you think, behind him going, I don't know what he's going to do or if he's going to save this kind of thing?
Owen, when a shot goes in and it's on target, my arse squeaks every single time.
It squeaks.
If my arse is squeaking, their arse is squeaking. Well, let's be real. Do you know what I mean? Like let's just be real. And the defense. Let's give the defense some credit actually. And I want to give a big shout out to Harry Maguire for the redemption that he's going for at the moment. The defense, they've become a bit more solid. Whether that's because they're coinciding with a bit of a more solid centre back pairing with Aaron Wan-Bissaka coming back in, Luke Shaw. So they're doing their bit. Still looking a bit frail at times, not perfect. I know they look a bit open, but they're a lot more solid. I think Erik ten Hag has abandoned the high line, so it's just kind of playing to strengths. They're doing all right. So when your goalkeeper does stuff like that, and like I say, every time a shot goes in, I am squeaky bum time every single time, and I think that just permeates throughout the whole team. And so it's hard, when a goalkeeper makes that kind of mistake, you can see the heads drop, and he's got that kind of character where you thought that if he was a goalkeeper that made a mistake, that he's got that character that he could come out of it because he's quite confident in himself. But actually, he just continues to make them. It does look like it doesn't bother him. He does look like that, but he's not making any changes. Honestly, the technique is just shoddy. And I just think, get to the end of the season. I'm not saying throw him out and put in Bayern or anything like that. We have no idea what that goalkeeper's like. Just get to the end of the season and just say, hold your hands up. They made a bad call. Off you go. And then get someone else in. It's okay. The longer you keep him, the more mistakes he makes, the value will drop, and we're going to try and sell him for like £2 in a couple of seasons, and we can't get rid. So there's some good performances in there. I don't want to say that.
Just finally, then, obviously coming out of the disappointment tonight, do you think we bounce back against Newcastle at the weekend? I mean, look, we've scored 3 goals in back-to-back matches, so it's not a case of scoring goals. So we might score goals at the weekend, but do you back us not to concede?
Oh, no, we will definitely concede. But I agree with Amanor that I think the last few games have shown me that actually the boys have a bit about them. Before, going to Copenhagen was a hostile environment, and they didn't do too bad. I know we conceded goals, but the sending off didn't do too bad. Going to Galatasaray again didn't do too bad. So I'm a little less nervous about going to St James's Park. I think the players can put something together. But if I'm honest, Newcastle are are a proper team, and I think they will have us. I think they'll have us, unfortunately. But there's loads of other games in the season, so we'll take that L and we'll keep going.
There you go. Big up all elite. Basically ended up with plenty of other fish in the sea as the rationale for that one. There are other games. Didn't say bigger fish to fry or anything like that. I saw Marcel verging very close to that on the match view. Hey, he wants to be in the Champions League anyway. You taking the piss, Marcel? Oh, my God. But that's where we're at the moment, folks. That's where we're at. How many likes are we currently on at the moment? Let me double check here. In terms of likes, we're at 115 likes. We've still got over 500 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner, you know what to do. Let's go to another call. It's a horror show. I've got two Charleses in front of me. I've got Charles plural. Now, which one he is actually, I don't know. Let's try the first one. Charles, is this you? Don't think it is. Right. Kick that, Charles, from the studio. Go on. Charles, is this you? Charles kind of bottling it. That's a shame. I thought Charles was going to be ready. We hadn't heard from him in a while. Last time, he was very angry. Eric Ten Hag out. And it's not worked out. It's not worked out for Charles today. Charles is an enigma, man. You never know what you're going to get with him. Sometimes you're going to get, peaceful Charles. Sometimes you're going to get angry Charles. Sometimes you're going to get no Charles. Sometimes you're going to get mute Charles. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Let's try someone else. Let's try Sean. Sean, what are your thoughts on everything you saw this evening?
I'm disappointed, Owen. I'm majorly disappointed. It's gutting to be out this way. Like, I know permutations and combinations and everything, we might still be in with a chance, but after tonight, I'm broken. As expressions would say, I'm broken tonight, mate. I think the team, the outfield players performed really well. We were just let down by one person and one person only.
And that's Andre Onana, obviously. Where do you sit on Onana at the moment? I mean, it feels like last season, obviously, we were discussing goalkeepers all the time. And it's not as if David De Gea wasn't making mistakes, because he was. Not, I don't think, at this level, to the extent of, where we've got 3 Champions League games we can put to Andre Onana mistakes. But do you think that this is a long-term viable signing for us? Or do you echo maybe some of the other callers who are sort of saying maybe actually at the end of the season, it's maybe another discussion point? Where do you sit on Onana at the moment?
To be fair, like, I was one of the people who thought that the goalkeeping position was not a priority coming into this season. I would rather wanted a central defender just to complement the unit that we already have. But when we went for Onana, given what he did in the Champions League final, given what I've heard from Ajax fans and Inter fans regarding him, I was kind of okay with it. But it's just that if you can't do the basics of goalkeeping, let alone ball distribution, I mean, God forbid he does that, but if you can't do the basics of goalkeeping right, then you have to be held to scrutiny. It's as simple as that, mate. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be revisionist and say, well, De Gea would have saved these. I would agree with them. De Gea would really have saved these. He was very good on his feet, especially with the low drives. And I think one caller alluded to the fact that it was like Mario Basler's free kick in the Champions League final, which Michael also messed up, and that led to the goal. But even if we can excuse that, the second goal, no way that goes in. No way that goes in. You could put a Harry Maguire at goal and he wouldn't have made such a howler. It was that bad. And this is not the first time. I mean, I think we spoke after the Bayern Munich game. He let us down there as well. And the Galatasaray home game. Yes, he redeemed himself at the Copenhagen game. But at the same time, if you're costing your team so many points and so many easy goals that should not be conceded, then questions need to be asked. And his distribution today, I think his distribution was really, really bad. Or maybe I'm the only person who sees it that way. But if you're a goalkeeper and you have the whole field of vision that, like, literally visible to you, even David De Gea was pinging balls to the centre forward last season, but he knew that the centre forward was there. And based on, like, the velocity and everything, he knew exactly where to ping. Onana is not doing that. Every time he distributes the ball, it's always to the flanks. I mean, isn't it basic football to know that most of the wingers on this planet are not the ones who would really go up and get a header on? But at the same time, he continues to do that. Whether that's a team instruction or not, I don't know. And he's 27 years old. I think Aminor put it perfectly. He's not someone who's going to rapidly improve with training. I mean, when David De Gea came in, he was a young kid. I mean, same with Binder. these were young kids who you can groom to a specific style of goalkeeping. But with Andre Onana, you can't do that. So I really don't know where it lies. I mean, look, the extremist opinion would be to bin him off in the January or the summer. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think Erik ten Hag, for whatever he does, he's a very defense friendly manager, especially when it comes to his own signings. So I really don't think that's going to happen. But we have to find out a way. There's no coordination with him and the back four. He constantly gives away cheap possession, which we brought him not to give away. There's just a conundrum really in every front, and it is problematic, honestly, Owen. I mean, I feel bad for the outfield players today, because I think literally almost all of them gave their 100%. I think the tactics were correct. I think a lot of the players had very good performances. I think notably Maguire, Bruno. I know he gave away the fouls, but and Garnacho, I feel the worst for them. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. When 10 of your players are playing well and there's one person who absolutely messes it all up, it's unbelievably not fair. And he needs to be held to criticism. He might go on like the post-match interview and say all of this was my fault and I take responsibility. Well, that's all fair and good, but he did cost us the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not even really, I suppose, talk about future hopes for the Champions League or anything like that. But just, I guess, moving forward, is there something to hold on to that our recent form in the Premier League has been so different to that of the Champions League? Because, I mean, all of it's a bit of a conundrum considering, the amount of goals we've scored. We've scored, how many goals we scored? We scored 3 goals in this game, 3 goals against Bayern Munich, 3 goals against Copenhagen. So if you go into those games saying, if you score that amount of goals, you would expect to probably go through. In the league, in the Premier League, we're not conceding that many goals anymore. So what isn't clicking, do you think? Is it just a case of, for whatever reason, the Champions League isn't working out for us this season and the Premier a bit better? Like, what's missing? Like, how do you explain that?
Mate, I think there's a lot of revisionism regarding the Premier League, because the wins that we did get were against really bottom tier opposition and we barely scraped through. And there were moments against each and every one of them where if the luck just didn't favor our way, the result would have been starkly different. There would have been very different conversations post-game. So I think we're just a disjointed unit at this point. I think against Everton, I got a bit of hope, because I saw structure. I love my triangles. I saw the triangles. I saw the box midfield working out. Today as well, I did. As I said, I don't think we played that badly. But against Newcastle, I mean, I think you're alluding to that. We just need to cut out the errors. We are a victim of our own destruction. We consist of so many errors, schoolboy errors, whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's giving away cheap fouls, whether it's allowing midfielders to run at us straight centrally. I mean, that's not okay for any top team, or rather for any team which wants to be a top side. And like, I'll give you the example of Aston Villa, right? I mean, obviously we all praise the job that Unai Emery's done, but if you look at their games, it's near high impossible to get through them centrally, because they block the space. They all shift to one side so that it makes the switch easier. And when the switch happens from the opposition, they all go to close down. They act as a unit. I don't see a defensive unit acting that way. And I think, look, attack wins you games, but defense wins you trophies. And I know our defense has been okay in the Premier League, but against Newcastle, I fully expect us to concede at least 1 goal. I mean, and if we can score more, and yes, our form has been good in terms of scoring the Champions League, but in the Premier League, we've been very different. I think the Everton game was a bit of an outlier. So against Newcastle, again, we have to turn up. We have to make sure that we cut out the errors. And that keeper, as Roy Keane once said, like, there has to be serious questions asked about him. Serious questions. And would I play Bayern there? I wouldn't. But I might actually experiment with Tom Heaton at this point. Because, again, he's an experienced goalkeeper who wouldn't make these sort of errors. But I just don't know where we go from here on. I'm incredibly gutted. I mean, this was a game that, again, if I could say that for all games of the Champions League thus far, that we could have just won. Maybe apart from the Bayern Munich game, but we were again let down by individual errors from Onana in that game. I don't think we played that badly in the Champions League. We don't deserve to be in the position we're at. But because of individual errors, that's where we are. I don't expect us to win against Bayern Munich, I'll be honest with you. I really don't, even though it's at Old Trafford. But if we do win, and based on some other permutations, combinations, if we do get through, which I don't really see happening, I see us getting eliminated anywhere in the knockout stages that we go, because it's going to be really difficult. And if you have people letting you down in important situations, then then there's no saving grace. And for the people who are saying Eric Ten Hag out, I completely disagree with that. I think his tactics have been spot on for the last couple of games. If somebody is blaming Ten Hag for what happened today, I think, as Roy Keane said, they're probably living in cuckoo land. No, it's nonsense. We have to back the manager. The guy knows what he's going to do. And I think if we cut out the individual errors, there will be some positivity in the next couple of games, because it's very important. We have 2 games a week, literally up until Christmas, and we have to get positive results from them. Do I see it happening? Not really, but I still hold up hope. And I guess hope is the thing that kills us. But with Manchester United, the least we can do is have hope.
At least we can have hope indeed. Big up Sean for calling in. A couple more super chats here, I think. Game Fanatic says, don't say David De Gea would 100% save it. Remember Brentford. And Nem Green also says, 3 out of the 5 Champions League games he cost us, and we have scored the most. Let's go to a final call of the evening. Apologies if I can't get to everyone. I've got the message on the StreamYard. You get a message saying like your thing's filled up. That's literally been ping, 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 ping all the way through this evening. So I appreciate everyone that has tried to call in. Actually, another super chat, then I'll get to the final call. RK says, hope we lose to Bayern and get out of Europe, play a game a week, and we get players back and Champions League and work on a style of play in training. Let's go to our final call. Let's go to Clovis. Clovis, what do you make of everything this evening?
I hope you can hear me now, because yesterday was a...
Yes, much better, much better.
Yes, thank you. As a Cameroonian, I cannot defend this. I just cannot defend this. This is an insult. This is an insult. But I saw KG saying even David De Gea would have saved that, but I don't think so. Because those shots were, they were for him to catch. I don't understand. In Cameroon, normally he is very known for shot stopping. So I don't understand why on earth he's coming to Manchester United and playing like this. His hands are weak. I don't understand. Let the ball.
Do you think it's pressure? Do you think it's pressure? Do you think it's the pressure of playing for Man United? Do you think that's it?
Yes, I think it's pressure, because we never saw this. He is a good goalkeeper, and for some reason his head is just lost in a moment, and he's losing. Like when the ball comes, he's not catching it. He let it bounce for one time and then he falls on it. Like sometimes I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, our midfield there's so many holes in our midfield. Players are just running past us, and I don't want to put this on the players because they did well today. They did well, but individual errors was a problem. That is a big problem. And each time we score a goal, we end up conceding. And that needs to stop, I just cannot get it. Just when I thought we are finally getting some form and coming back, and we get this, it's just worrying, I know we are going to play well against Newcastle, but having this is just like, damn, all the work Ten Hag has put in to make sure that we get this run of form and winning some games. Yes, they have to beat who is in front of you. At the same time, you don't have to concede when we were literally 2-0 up. I just cannot understand how, But again, Onana cost us. I just cannot accept this. Like this,
Yeah, and it's weird because that game has happened in different versions 3 or 4 times this season as well. The same game, the same disappointing sort of nature of it. Do you think, just putting the individual mistakes aside, do you think it's also sort of the mentality of the players, sort of how fragile they are as well, that these setbacks happen and they can't react?
I think that is the problem right now, because if you look at it, like in the past few games we have played, we have actually gotten our rhythm somehow. We play well, but then at some point the mentality just, it just vanishes. It's as if we are playing for the first time. Which is a big problem. I just hope Eric Ten Hag gets into their heads and tell them, when we concede, they need to be more stronger than when they got to the pitch, and I just hope that these individual errors can be be kept away, because I don't understand why we keep losing after winning. Like it's just it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
And for me, it's not even about because I see a lot of people saying, Onana out and this. No. Like, listen, guys, let's calm down, okay? Because tomorrow this will not be the same tone people are using, But let's calm down. And I see others blaming Ten Hag. Ten Hag had nothing to do today. He just played his game, did his substitutions well, but the players individually did not execute. We cannot say that, like, even the Pelistri should have scored 2 goals today. Yes, I'm not going to put that on him, but he should have scored, And then in front of goal, the players keep kicking it wide. I don't understand. McTominay, give a pass. Bruno was already running through. Give a pass already. Like that, those individual instincts were not there. As much as Onana cost us the game, in front of goal, we are missing a lot of chances. And that should not be, our be or end all each time we play. Like, it's crazy.
Just finally, so as someone from Cameroon, what are you thinking about it when in January, when he goes to AFCON, Onana? Do you think that's going to positively or negatively affect Manchester United?
It depends. I mean, the first games is going to negatively impact him, because the fans are not going to have this. Because you also have somebody like me watching Manchester United as a fan, that we are going to be like, if you're coming to this AFCON right now, how are you going to, defend us? If you're leaking goals, you understand, there will be questions. But then as the games go, you actually see that he is playing very well, because the last international break we just had, he was actually playing very well. Yes, he faked an injury and went out, but each time he comes back home, he plays very well. You understand? But then at Manchester United, he's just sloppy hands, and like, I'm just like, I really don't understand why you do this. You're costing us a whole Champions League. Like, I don't understand why this today we are 3-1 up even. Like, why?
Yeah, I agree, and I think everyone's saying that.
I
hope so too. I hope so too. Big up, Clovis. Appreciate you calling in. Excellent call. That's it for this evening. That's it for the full-time view. Once again, guys, apologies we couldn't get to your calls. There were so many this evening. And Riri's been a member for 17 months. Big up, Riri. Says Onana needs to sit down. He has Hakeem looking like a world-class free kick taker. I know, 2-0 on the free kicks. Hakeem Ziyech this evening as well. Oh dear. But there you go, guys. Appreciate everyone calling in. As I mentioned, what's on tap for the remainder of this evening and tomorrow. Obviously, all the fan views going up as we speak right now. Flex, KG, and the crew inside UVHQ giving their thoughts, their player ratings as well. Tomorrow, I'll be live 9 a.m. Match Day Reloaded. Having to play that Champions League intro again. And actually, in every fan view, got to play that bloody Champions League intro again. We're in the Champions League, not for much longer. The worst thing is by the time we play Bayern Munich, we may no longer be in the Champions League. I'm still got to play that intro. It's a cell phone, isn't it? Take the risk. So be sure to check all those things out. And I mentioned join us tomorrow 9 a.m. for Match Day Reloaded. Anyway, guys, have a great evening. I'm out of here. Peace.